For the last division out east, we have the Central Division, and it's incredibly talented. They have primed and ready for title run squads, or incredibly young and talented, ready to raise some hell squads to bust some brackets. Welcome to AJM in the AM with episode 26, the last one for the Eastern Conference. The Central Division has 3 legitimate playoff teams, with the Milwaukee Bucks, are they actually good or just fun Chicago Bulls? This team is actually phenomenal. Did the front office ace the draft, signings, and trades? Cleveland Cavaliers, and 2 draft capital-filled rebuilds with the Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons. I notice now that I've messed up my own order, so going forward I will be doing these in order of how I think they'll perform in this upcoming season. So obviously the best team in this division is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks last year lost to the Celtics in the second round in 7 games, and that was completely without Chris Middleton, who got hurt in the first round game 2 against Chicago. This team is built as a championship contender. They have depth across the board and the best player in the world, or one of if you are a detractor of Giannis. They have Middleton as a legit second star and a great option for closing with his offensive arsenal and skill set. And a really good third option in Jrue Holiday, arguably the best defensive guard in the NBA. But the Bucks had a really important offseason just now. Their depth was mostly off the books. They had Jevon Carter, Serge Ibaka, and Wes Matthews completely off the books, and they had options on Thanasis Antetokounmpo, Pat Connaughton, and Bobby Portis. That's 6 pivotal players, 4 legit rotation pieces in Ibaka, Portis, Wes, and Connaughton, Jevon Carter, who may become their backup point guard after outperforming George Hill in the postseason, and Thanasis, who will keep Giannis happy. Being around his family may influence his future free agency decisions. And they retained every single one of them on massive discounts. Pat and Thanasis took their player options, which are huge discounts for what they could have been paid. West and Ibaka signed team-friendly deals to stay with the veteran minimums. Carter came back on a team-friendly 2-year deal worth about $2 million per year. And Portis, who became a phenomenal rotation player, averaging 14 points and 9 boards as the 4th option, signed a longer-term 4-year, $48 million deal. This is a testament to the player's commitment to what Milwaukee is building. I think, like many others, that if Middleton was healthy, the Celtics don't advance.
If you had Chris, probably be a different story.
Potentially even halting the Warriors at that finish line. We watched the Bucks' offense stall behind Holiday needing to be a second option. His offensive output is just too inconsistent to be a reliable number 2. He did average 21 points, but it was on horrible shooting splits. Giannis still balled out against the Celtics defense, but there was a lot of pressure for him to create, and without a second reliable scorer, he had to shoot about 28 times a game. It's hard to replace Middleton's 25 and 5. And that doesn't account for Middleton's defense, which is better than the starting replacement, Grayson Allen. Even so, the Bucks are reloaded, even adding Joe Ingles to the fold for some more passing and 3-point depth. This may be the best team out east if they don't coast like they did last year. I see a ceiling of about 60 and 22, a floor of 52 and 30, but I have them as a very good 55 and 27. Coming in second, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are probably one of the most watchable teams right now. They have a ton of young talent. Darius Garland just made an all-star appearance alongside Jarrett Allen. The world fell in love with Evan Mobley, some even comparing him to a baby Tim Duncan, which is an incredible comparison given that Duncan is one of the 5 to 10 greatest players in NBA history. And his impact was immediately evident. The Cavs went 4-9 without him, and were 40-29 with him, which is a crazy split for a rookie. They battled all season for a middle playoff spot, but when Jarrett Allen went down, their season derailed. They were 35-21 with Jarrett, just in case you were curious. After he got hurt in March, they dropped a 4-game 6th seed lead to the 8th seed and then lost it to the Hawks in the play-in tournament, which was a disappointing end for such a promising season. Much like the Bulls, untimely injuries helped hurt that season. Losing Rubio to a torn ACL was damaging. Colin Sexton went down with a torn meniscus early in the year too, but their season was just destined to grow their young guns. And grow they did. Their top 5 scorers are aged 24 and under, with 2 All-Stars, and their best player has yet to emerge in Mobley. Their big questions this offseason were what can they add? And will they shell out a big contract for Sexton, which they opted not to? They did, however, re-sign Rubio, they brought in Robin Lopez, they drafted Ochai Agbaji and Evan Mobley's brother Isaiah Mobley, and left the rest alone. This makes sense. This team's growth is firmly planted with their own prospects. They have a combination with a trio of amazing young talent, solid contributing vets in Rubio and Kevin Love, and a primed wing in Karis LeVert. The Cavs, in my opinion, are on the cusp of a phenomenal run, and I'm totally impressed. Cleveland has typically been a dumpster fire outside of LeBron James, but Kobe Altman has drafted his tail off and made some good team-building moves. I see a ceiling for this squad of about 53-29, but due to injury concerns around Allen and some of the actual growing pains of a young team, despite their talent, a floor of about 44-38. I think a 50-win season for this team sounds right. I am all in on this Cavs team, and they potentially have the brightest future in the entire NBA if things go right for them. If you like this content, please hit the subscribe button to join the Ant Colony. It's crazy that we already hit 125. Let's shoot for that 200. Like the video as well to push us up that YouTube algorithm. Next up, we have the Chicago Bulls. I don't even know where to start with this team. Last year, I loved their offseason and midseason additions. Bringing on Caruso, Lonzo, DeRozan, and Vucevic to play with Zach LaVine made them look awesome. We all collectively saw how fun this team could actually be, and they lived up to it, while translating that to wins. Through the first 70% of the season, the Bulls led the Eastern Conference, fighting for that #1 seed up to February 25th, holding it from Miami. But injuries started to mount against them. Patrick Williams missed almost the entire year, Lonzo went down in January with knee surgery, and Caruso followed shortly after, and they had other nagging injuries for some of their deeper bench players. But that created a playmaking void for them while taking away two of their best perimeter defenders in Lonzo and Caruso. Up to January 15th, when the roster was relatively healthy, they had a defensive rating of 109, which, while not amazing, is a decent mid-pack defense. From then to the end of the season, though, their defensive rating suffered to a 116.8. That's the impact losing Ball and Caruso had on their defense. And that led to the Bulls having the worst net rating of all Eastern Conference playoff and even play-in teams. And they spent their offseason addressing some of those needs. They retained Zach LaVine, which was huge, and Derek Jones Jr. just to maintain their status quo. But they added Andre Drummond and Goran Dragic, which gives them some insurances. If Vucevic needs to miss time or Patrick Williams needs to miss time, they have a serviceable backup big, or he can split minutes for better defensive and rebounding impact. Losing both of their primary playmaking ball handlers showed the importance of having a tertiary one, and Dragic provides just that to maintain the ship through the marathon of a season. The Bulls, though, still have these injury concerns. Lonzo, LaVine, Caruso have not exactly been Iron Men. They always suffer some kind of nagging issue that'll force them to miss a chunk of the season. If those injuries can be muted for a year, I can see them replicating what they did last year. The Bulls have a ton of talent and some young guys ready to take a big step forward like Patrick Williams and Ayo Dosunmu. These Bulls ceilings is about 52-30 with the floor of 44-38. This is a really talented team. I have them fitting right in the middle with a record of 48-34. Detroit basketball. They started their offseason by trading Jeremy Grant for basically a late first-round pick and 2 seconds, which made Detroit fans really pissed off. This one guy drowned himself in hopefully not really tequila. But they slam dunked the draft. Somehow, Jaden Ivey fell to them at 4. They joined that confusing Knick trade, adding Jalen Duren for a boost in their young future, and this made the Grant trade a little bit more palatable since they showed their direction, going all in on youth and draft prospects to build their team. They already have some promising young players in Cade Cunningham, who went berserk in the second half of the season, Sadiq Bey, a decent 3-and-D wing, Isaiah Stewart, who's just a beast on the glass with an endless motor. He has some Ed Davis in him, a guy fans love who plays very hard and is just a black hole for rebounds. Now throw in Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, that's a starting 5 of players aged 22 and under. And that doesn't include their depth pieces like Marvin Bagley and Hamidou Diallo, who are also very young and talented. Detroit is setting up their future through draft prospects, and while it won't translate to a good season this year, Detroit should still be fun to watch while providing their team tons of chances to hit the lottery on these young guns. I think Cade and Jaden will definitely be their cornerstone backcourt for years to come. Even so, with all that young talent, their talent is still blossoming, not like Cleveland where they're blossomed and ready to grow now. The Pistons have a ceiling of about 30 and 52, a floor of 26 and 56, but I think they'll settle on the lower end of things at 27 and 55. And last, we have the Indiana Pacers. Indiana was not good last year, and I expect them to be even worse this year, but this is their process. They traded with the Sacramento Kings for young stud Tyrese Halliburton. They moved on from Malcolm Brogdon for a first rounder. They traded Karis LeVert for a first and 2 seconds, and now they drafted Benedict Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard. This team won't be good with their recent moves, but the Pacers are being aggressive in their pursuit of a pairing to Halliburton. They went hard after DeAndre Ayton, forcing Phoenix to match their max that they threw directly at him. And I see no reason why they won't continue to throw their cap toward young, restricted free agents. But this may be one of the worst teams in the league this coming season. And it sucks, because Halliburton is a special talent. In just his second season, without any other really high caliber players alongside him, he averaged an efficient 17 points and 9.6 assists, shooting 50, 40, and 85. I expect him to continue to get better, especially since his numbers boomed after Brogdon went down to injury last season. The rest of their roster is just too young to have a really strong impact on winning. Although Mathurin is an interesting prospect who just dropped 19 points and 4 boards a night in the Summer League. They still have Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, but neither match the window the Pacers are trying to open. So that's why they've been on the trading block for quite a while now at this point. There's been a number of rumors around the Lakers trading Westbrook for these two along with their 2 future firsts, which is clear about the direction Indy is headed. Beyond Halliburton, I just don't see enough impact on the rest of the roster, at least this season, so expect them to not win a lot and fight for the number 1 seed in the 2023 draft. I see a ceiling for them at about 22 and 60 and a floor of 15 and 67, and I think they'll settle around 19 and 63. You might be thinking, why is this team worse than the Pistons? Well, the Pistons have more bright young players since they've already started this process a few years back. The Pacers just restarted it in the middle of last year. Alright, but this is the last Eastern Conference division, and based on my predictions, the East may look something like this at the end of the year. Let me know your thoughts and the order you have these teams in, and what do you think will be a surprise out East in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, I appreciate it every time, and I'll see you next week.